Welcome to the Entrepreneurial, the show where Caribbean visionaries share the strategies, stories, and solutions shaping our region's future. I'm your host, Heneka Watkis-Porter, and every week we bring you powerful interviews with Jamaica's top business minds, practical tech talks, and inspiring community features to help you thrive on your entrepreneurial journey. This episode is proudly brought to you by Liberty Business, JPS, Digital Video Concept, Madison Chai, and HenekaWatkis-Porter.com, all committed to empowering innovation and growth across the region. We'll be right back. She is a pioneering entrepreneur who turned her passion for technology and problem solving into two of Jamaica's most innovative digital ventures. As founder and CEO of QuickCart and Sendana, Monique Powell has transformed e-commerce and digital payments in the region. Known for her resilience, vision, and commitment to empowering others, Monique's journey is truly a testament to the power of innovation, leadership, and staying true to your mission. Today, she joins us to discuss entrepreneurship, digital transformation, and building a legacy in the Caribbean tech industry. Monique, it is a pleasure. Welcome to the Entrepreneurial You.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Really, it has been a while since I need to sit down and talk with you, right? And finally, here it is happening. So thank you for coming. I want to know your backstory. Take us through young Monique.
Young Monique. So born and raised in St. Andrew, child of two teachers, only child. I went to St. Richard's Primary, then on to Immaculate. Then I went to UWI where I studied management studies. I always knew that I wanted to do something related to business, most likely something involving entrepreneurship. I wasn't sure what yet, but I kind of knew that's where I was heading.
Okay, so were any of your parents of that mindset? I mean, they were teachers, but
In a sense, my mom was into real estate, and I think she got creative with what she had and got into investing into small properties and that kind of thing. I think that was her way of expressing or dabbling into her entrepreneurial side and interests. But outside of that, I wouldn't necessarily say that they were entrepreneurial minded. But I know that they supported my dreams to that end.
And so in terms of your parents, what were they into? Were they also business minded, or they were doing different things, but you just wanted to do business?
No, in terms of the friends that I grew up with, I wouldn't say that. I can't. I'm racking my brain right now. I'm trying to think of one who is an entrepreneur right now, and I can't. So I think I was kind of alone in that mission, so to speak.
Okay. And in terms of like your school, what were your grades like? How were you doing? Were you that A student or
No, I was never an A student. And we had teachers constantly telling my parents when they would come in that I'm not living up to my potential and that sort of thing. So I would pass, but I would do enough to pass. But that wasn't a lack of interest in reading or academics or anything, because on my own, outside of what I was required to read at school, I actually read a lot. Like I regularly finished one book in one evening and that kind of thing. But I think from then I kind of had a certain sense of what I thought was important and what wasn't. I thought it was important to get good enough grades to fly above the radar and not have people ask me why I'm failing in school. But I didn't necessarily think it was necessary, even from then, to spend what I thought was a disproportionate amount of time trying to get all A's versus being more rounded in terms of the information that I was consuming or what I was spending my time on.
Mm. That's an interesting concept because I know that growing up, we tend to, as parents, we tend to have our children, we have to get A's and, you push them in a certain academic direction. But I like the fact that you mentioned that you were pretty much just doing, and don't practice this at home, right? Just doing enough to be above the radar, right? But at the same time, you were reading widely.
I was.
What kind of influence do you think that, reading early has had on your life?
Uh, I think one, getting exposed to a range of ideas from early versus just what I was being exposed to at school or church or home. I think I'd like to think it opened up my vocabulary quite a bit. And I think in terms of cultivating a creative mind, I think it helped there as well because when I would read it, like fiction and so on, I'd literally be imagining what I was reading and that sort of thing. And I think it helped to kind of cultivate a vivid mind, so to speak. Um, and I think having a child get a certain kind of appreciation for reading can never be a bad thing, you know.
Yeah, and your standout book from your childhood.
Oh gosh, that's hard. So in the younger younger parts, I used to read a lot of Enid Blyton. And then it was Nancy Drew and Hardy Boys.
Oh yeah, I remember those.
And then as I got older, like late high school years and so on, I just read whatever I could get my hands on.
And what are you reading now?
I think I've done a lot of self-help books in recent times, but right now I'm reading a book called Only the Paranoid Survive.
So what's the essence of that book?
So the essence of it is, so really it focuses on incumbents getting complacent in the market and what to look out for to know when a shift is happening in your space that you need to respond to versus feeling comfortable about where you are, especially if you've done well or fairly well so far. So that's the essence of it.
Okay. And I want to know your journey now, Monique, from you did business in college, in university. Which
Yeah.
university it was?
UWI.
UWI, yeah. Shout out to UWI, yay. Did you work in corporate?
I did. So my first job was at the Gleaner Company. Did 7 years there as an internet specialist. So I was essentially a web developer.
Nice name for web developer.
Right. I then moved on to Digicel as the web marketing specialist on their marketing team, where I had responsibility for online marketing and the upkeep of the websites across all the countries they were operating in at that time. Later on, I moved to Scotiabank, and that was my last role before becoming a full-time entrepreneur. So at Scotiabank, I was there for 5 years. I was regional marketing manager in charge of digital marketing for the English Caribbean. So that was about, I think at the time it was about 17 countries across the region. Right.
So you did business in university, and most of your corporate experience is in the tech field.
Yes.
And so when you think business, naturally we're not thinking tech, right? We're thinking, okay, probably when we do some manufacturing or something. That's not the first thing that we think about. So what was it in the corporate space that prepared you, or you think prepared you for entering into the tech field? Or into business rather, because that's where you've been, yeah.
Right. So that interest in tech and innovation and so on was always there. So I taught myself how to develop websites from when I was 15. I got my first paid customer at either 17 or 18. So it was always there. In terms of my work and where it led to, again, the roles I had were pretty much an extension of that deep interest in technology. Um, and when I decided it was time to go out on my own and start a business, it just felt natural to go into something that was tech enabled or tech driven, to pretty much use the knowledge that I had and use and leverage the passion that I had for that space to make something better. Initially, I wasn't sure what I was going to be, but I figured that there was gonna be a way for me to leverage that background to build a business.
Interesting. So was QuickCart your first business or business idea?
It was the first business that grew to the point where I had employees on board and that sort of thing. But before that, I mean, I don't know if you would consider this a business in and of itself, but I mean, I was a freelance web designer managing my own clients and so on before I joined the Gleaner. After that, I had an online travel guide called Roaming Donkey. And then I had an online dating site called Next Comes Love.
Okay.
But I would say both of those were more labors of love than businesses because the emphasis then wasn't so much on turning it into a profit making entity. It was just me seeing a need for something in the market and deciding to build it.
All right. So, Monique, we're going to take our first break, and when I come back, I want to hear a little bit about those two businesses that you mentioned, and then we go full on into QuickCarts and your other business venture, which we'll also talk about. We take our first break. More insights and inspiration from Monique Powell when the Entrepreneurial You returns.
And vibes, and through it all there's a glow inside. Let's keep our shine alive.
From the market to the factory floors, from the hillside green to golden shores,
we're reaching heights, our energy that lights the sky. Shine bright, Jamaica. Shine bright, Jamaica. Feel the rhythm, we're on track. Feel it, feel it. Together we rise, together we climb. JPS Jamaica, together we shine.
Shine from the ends, shine with your family, shine with your friends. Light up the streets and make the vibes blend. Yo, JPS, they make the shine never end.
What great stories do you want to tell today? We are your storytellers. We are Digital Video Concept.
If you come to Jamaica and you want to have the best shoots ever, you have to call Digital Video Concept.
My experiences have been amazing.
They are fantastic.
Producing extraordinary imagery with high-definition cameras on the ground and in the sky.
Right when I landed in Jamaica, I felt the love.
I love working with them. You've done an amazing job. You are the best.
Excellence is in our nature.
If I put everything together, it's a great team.
Call us today for all your video storytelling need.
None of this would be possible, of course, if we didn't have our partners at Digital Video Concept.
Are you ready? We are ready. Let's go!
Welcome back. It is the Entrepreneurial You with Heneka Watkis-Porter, and my guest today is Monique Powell of QuickCart and Sendana. Tell us a little bit about those two initiatives that you started, and then how did that create the foundation, the platform, as it were, for your first real business?
Right. So, as I mentioned, the first one was Roaming Donkey. So it was pretty much
Interesting.
it was pretty much a site that listed mostly restaurants and nightclubs and natural attractions and that sort of thing around the island. Basically anything that you could possibly think of doing for entertainment. And then it allowed people to leave their reviews or ratings. And for specific spots that I'd been to myself. There would be an editor's review, and it gathered its own following. But as is the case with, labors of love, as I call them, you eventually move on to things that
Can pay the bills.
thank you, that have a greater likelihood of helping you to pay the bills. Another one, next comes love, was the online dating site. You had international dating sites at the time, but I didn't feel like there was one that catered specifically to the Caribbean market. And it demonstrated strong potential. Within like 2 weeks of launching, I think we had 600 persons signing up.
Whoa. People looking for love.
Yes,
Mm.
yes.
Mhm.
But again, I saw where it could grow to a particular point, but I saw where it would be difficult to monetize it
Mm.
or monetize it in a meaningful way. So again, that eventually got parked. But throughout all that time, I was sharpening my technical skills in terms of building out the platforms for both of these. And I think, in a sense, kind of sharpening my appreciation for what it would take to build something that was not only interesting to me, but had financial viability or feasibility. Yeah.
And then comes QuickCart.
Right.
So tell us about the genesis of that, how the idea came about, and when did you recognize that this is an actual business? I can do this to pay myself, pay my bills, etc.
Right. So one key difference with QuickCart versus the other two things. The other two things, I was employed while I was doing that. QuickCart, I quit my job to start QuickCart. So I had to get very serious from the start. Right.
Incentive right there, right?
Right. So I had to get very serious from the start about how this would work as a business. And it was born out of a personal need, really. I didn't like to cook. I still don't like to cook. Uh, I would work late a lot of times, come home, have no interest in going near a fireside any at all. And it's not like it is now where you have a number of players in the space. At the time, if you wanted to order food for delivery, you were pretty much limited to pizza. And I mean, no matter how much you like pizza, you don't want to eat that every day. And I thought, what if there was a way that people could come to one central platform with a number of restaurants listed and just order what they want, pay online, and have a professional experience right throughout. And I started to look at how it was being done in other parts of the world. And I figured, if I bring this here with a few tweaks to localize it to the Jamaican market and the realities of our space, it could work. So that was the genesis of that idea.
And what year was that?
That was in 2016.
2016. And then fast track to, let's say, a year that nobody will forget, 2020, COVID-19.
Right.
Let's talk about how that business, well, before we do that, how was it doing leading up to COVID?
Leading up to COVID, I'd say it had started to pick up. In the beginning, it was a very slow and painful process getting people to change their behaviors. In the sense of one, trusting an online platform with their credit card information, that sort of thing.
Identity theft and
At the time, I realized that it was a little bit ambitious at the time. At the time, I think there was like 14% card penetration in terms of cards that could be used online. And I realized at the time, it was a little bit ambitious to think that people would just readily gravitate towards this without being convinced. So I spent a lot of time and a lot of money educating the market about how safe this was, presenting ourselves as a trustworthy entity, as a professional entity. So it took a lot longer to get to a particular point than I thought it would have.
Okay.
But I'd say leading up to 2020, it had started to show a lot more promise and had started to stand out in the market as a service that could be trusted for this.
Right. So we're now at 2020. It's COVID, and you're kind of locked in, not supposed to be going anywhere. All of these things.
Right.
What kind of an impact did that have on your business?
So positive and negative, but I would say net positive. So I mean, of course, COVID and what it brought with it was horrible, but it did create opportunities for businesses like ours. And I think a number of people who were previously skeptical about using web-based services were now in a position, I wouldn't say forced, but in a position where they felt like they had little choice but to try it and see what it was about. You're at home, it's 5 minutes before curfew, there are particular things that you need. What do you do? And we saw an acceleration in the adoption of online services like ours right across the board. More willingness to pay online, more willingness to do business online. So I'd say that opened up the market in a sense for us. And I think we're still benefiting from that change in behavior that happened for a lot of people during that time.
And so you've expanded outside of Jamaica. We'll talk a little bit about that. But before, I'm interested to know about your team at the onset. How did you get buy-in? Were persons readily coming on board in terms of your team and partners? How did that go?
So for partners, we started off with 5 partner merchants, restaurants. By the end of the first year, we only had 17. But I think it was a case where a lot of merchants were waiting to see what would happen.
And everyone waiting on the next one to come on and stuff,
And
right?
it took 1 year to get to that 17. And I think by the end of the second year, we had tripled that number. And it grew until it got to where it is now, where we have over 200 partner merchants on board.
Interesting. And your team, your
And in terms of the team, so when we started out, and I think based on the level of professionalism people were getting from our service and so forth, I don't think anybody would have expected that for the first 3 years or so there were only 2 employees, including myself, right? Outside of the delivery drivers and riders, there was myself and the person who handled the dispatching of the orders as they came in. There was a part-timer who supported me in terms of bringing merchants on board and so forth. But in terms of full-time, everyday, day-to-day people, it was just 2 of us for almost 3 years.
Wow. And where are you now?
So right now we have a team of 10.
That's growth. That's tremendous growth, and you should be, commended for that. You and your team. And I know that you're now in Trinidad. How is that going? When did you enter the Trinidad market, and are you planning to be in any other markets with that product?
Right. So I want to say it was around 2022, we expanded to Trinidad. But I think there's a lot that I assumed based off my knowledge
In
of the
Jamaica.
Jamaican space
We do
that
that.
I thought would be similar there. And I was wrong about a lot of things. I was wrong with a number of assumptions. And about 9 months into our time there, I said, you know what? I think we need to wheel and come again. So we actually wrapped up our operations in Trinidad with the intention of later on going back, leveraging the lessons that we got the first time we tried, and going out much stronger the next time.
And that is an interesting path that we can take in this conversation, Monique. The lessons learned, but just as entrepreneurs, sometimes we're so married to a particular outcome. We're so connected, our babies are cute always, and we don't want to let it go. What are the lessons you learned and the importance of knowing when to pull back as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think it's key, and it can be tricky knowing when to pull back because there's the whole thing about, keep going, don't give up, etc. But there is a particular point where you have to look and say, all right, I have tried everything that I can reasonably try with the resources that I now have. And I think all the signs are telling me that, and even using the Trinidad example, I think all the signs are telling me that the path that we're on right now is not the right path for that particular expansion.
But you're determined, right?
Right. So, like I said, it's a pullback
Mm-hmm.
with the intention of going at it again at some point in the future.
Yeah.
But a lot of lessons were learned. So I think if I had to expand anywhere again, whether it's Trinidad or anywhere else,
Mm-hmm.
I would be a lot more prepared for what it takes to roll out in for want of a better term, unfamiliar territory.
Yeah. An important lesson right there, Monique, pulling back to go further ahead. And that's an important point, a great point at which we can take a break. So we'll be right back. Stay with us. Our conversation with Monique Powell continues right after this.
Oh, Jamaica, rise, we're built with fire, passion and vibes, and through it all, there's a glow inside. Let's keep our shine alive.
From the market to the factory floors, from the hillside green to golden shores.
We're reaching heights, our energy that lights the sky. Shine bright, Jamaica. Shine bright, Jamaica. Feel the rhythm, we're on track. Feel it, feel it. Together we rise, together we climb. JPS Jamaica, together we shine.
Shine from the ends, shine with your family, shine with your friends. Light up the streets and make the vibes blend. Yo, JPS, they make the shine never end.
What great stories do you want to tell today? We are your storytellers. We are Digital Video Concept.
If you come to Jamaica and you want to have the best shoots ever, you have to call Digital Video Concept.
My experiences have been amazing.
They are fantastic.
Producing extraordinary imagery with high-definition cameras on the ground and in the sky.
Right when I landed in Jamaica, I felt the love.
I love working with them. You've done an amazing job. You are the best.
Excellence is in our nature.
If I put everything together, it's a great team.
Call us today for all your video storytelling need.
None of this would be possible, of course, if we didn't have our partners at Digital Video Concept.
Are you ready? We are ready. Let's go!
Welcome back. It is the Entrepreneurial You with Heneka Watkis-Porter, and my guest is Monique Powell of QuickCart and Sendana. So you've grown from about 17 merchants in the very first year. I think you doubled that in the second year, and now you are 200 merchants with about 50,000 users. What were some of the strategies that you used to see this expansion through?
I think the first key thing that we did was to place heavy emphasis on customer service from early on. The unfortunate reality is that the bar for that is very low.
Extremely.
But what it does mean is that you can differentiate yourself just by providing good service. And this is something, the importance of this is something I instill in all members of my team. Which is not to say that we always get it right, but if we don't get it right, we do everything we can to make it right. And I think that alone was a big part of us eventually getting the trust of customers, getting the trust of merchants. And also just resilience on the personal front. We had a lot of setbacks. It's a very difficult space to operate in. I've seen so many players come and go, and in the last few years, only 3 have stood the test of time, and it's because it's a very difficult space to operate in. But it meant taking the lessons. When you get kicked down, you don't stay down. You say, all right, what after you brush off yourself, say, all right, what can I learn from this? And what can I improve in our processes or in our approach to what we're doing that can make sure that the particular setback doesn't happen again? There will be additional ones as you go through, but that particular one doesn't happen again. And I think taking that approach of just bouncing back each time and kind of making note of the lessons and making sure that everybody who needs to be aware of what those lessons are becomes aware so that the whole team is on the same page as we move forward.
Yeah, so there's actually no failure, there's just lessons. And you're even when you're starting, you think you're starting over. You're never really starting over, you're starting from experience, you know?
Yes.
Since QuickCart, what are some other ventures or
Right.
ventures that you have created
So
and started?
So in the almost 9 years or 9 years thereabout that QuickCart has been in existence, my focus has been entirely on that. Uh, Fortunately, we're getting to a place now where there are automated processes and procedures and the right kind of people in place to allow a lot of the day-to-day operation to function as it should without my direct involvement. And what it means is that it is kind of freeing me up a little bit now to pursue another area I'm passionate about, and that's fintech. And what I'm working on now is Sendana, which is a cross-border payments platform that's focused on making international payments faster, cheaper, easier, more accessible for people in the Caribbean, people in Africa, and other underserved markets, other emerging markets. So that's the other company that I'm now working on getting off the ground and building out. We're currently building out the platform for that, expecting the launch in another couple of months.
And so where you're in the startup phase, right? That
Right.
ideation startup phase. What kind of a plan do you have for that? I know it's a pain point for a lot of people, you know, sending and receiving payments, particularly if you're an entrepreneur doing business outside of Jamaica or any other parts of the region.
Yes.
So, yes.
So that's a core part of the group that we're looking to serve. So one group is the diaspora looking to send money back home, but there are also people in the region who work as freelancers or remote workers for companies overseas, and they still have to jump through hoops in terms of getting paid sometimes. I'll give you one example. Some people, the overseas client will ask, do you accept PayPal? And they don't want to give the client a hard time and
And they say
refusing the
yes.
client. So they just say yes.
Yeah.
But when they get the money in, they can't pull the money out because they
Check
don't
and check,
support
yes,
payments
via
directly
bank
to
account,
Jamaican
yes.
bank accounts. One of the problems Sendana will solve is just that. So you'll now get a virtual US account that will allow you to withdraw payments from PayPal into that account and then send it straight into your local account or do cash withdrawals from hundreds, thousands of locations across the globe. So
That's
that
interesting.
I think will solve a pain point for a
Yeah,
number
and
of
a
people.
number of particularly entrepreneurs. I'm like really passionate about entrepreneurs. So I know the fees. Another thing, like for persons who, okay, yes, you kind of kick and scream and you eventually accept PayPal, but then there's the issue of fees.
Yes,
So let's
yes.
talk about fees.
One of the things we'll be doing to keep costs low is to leverage blockchain technology. So we're using stablecoins, which is essentially a digital currency that is pegged to the value of another asset, usually a major currency like the US dollar or the euro. So when funds hit your Sendana wallet, they're automatically converted to these stablecoins. And transfers can be done with these for just a few cents. And we'll be able to pass on the savings to customers. So they'll see lower fees on their end, you know, as they move their money around.
Getting money quick at a cheaper rate. Yeah, we're all for that. So you're still in developmental stage, and you're looking in a couple months to launch. What do you think about competition? Perhaps persons, companies, institutions, organizations with more resources coming in and being competition.
I think that's always something to think about as you go into a space, but I don't think it should be ever considered a deterrent because every successful company was once a new kid on the block. And sometimes being small is a good thing. You're more nimble.
Nimble.
You're better able to respond to changes quickly. the smallest decision doesn't have to pass through layers and layers and boards and whatnot. If you see something that needs to be changed in your product, you change it. And the ability to move with that kind of speed and agility sometimes cancels out
The
the
resources, and yeah.
lower amount of resources that you have access to at the start, in a sense.
Yeah.
So I think it's about playing into what your strengths are as a small, nimble startup and tackling the market segment by segment, niche by niche,
Mhm.
and gaining the trust of people as you spread your wings
Yeah.
and being deliberate about the kind of service that you deliver and the quality of service that you provide.
Yeah. So, Monique, did you get bored with QuickCart? What you decided? I know it was growing and it's systemized and everything
No,
can run
no,
it.
no,
Was it
no,
boredom?
no, not at all. And I still remain heavily invested in it.
Mhm.
I still spend several hours a day, sometimes 7 days a week,
Mhm.
on QuickCart. However, I do think life is short,
Mhm.
and you have a window that's sometimes not as long as you think to pursue the dreams and the goals that you have. And the fintech space is one that I've always had an interest in. I wasn't sure how I was going to get into it or what the product that I'd bring to market would be, but I knew it was something that I wanted to explore. And I think changes that are happening now, for example, there are changes to US legislation that will drive widespread adoption of stablecoins. And I think we're coming in at just the right time. So there's something telling me that the time is now, and I'm capitalizing on that. I'm moving on it.
Yeah. So, I mean, this idea has been how long, and why did you decide, oh, I need to jump on this? And when it's a thing, it's a thing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's again just like QuickCart. My looking into this started out of a personal
Personal
frustration.
necessity is the mother of
You know,
invention, right?
so again, going back to Trinidad, when we pulled out of Trinidad, we had to close the bank account that we had there. But there was a team member there that she was so valuable that I wanted to keep her on.
Mhm.
But paying her became a bit of a nightmarish situation because it meant that every month in, I had to go and stand in line at Western Union to pay her because there was no way to transfer money from a local currency account in Jamaica
Mhm.
to a local currency account in Trinidad. And I thought, there has to be a better way. And, as I started to dig more and do more research, I realized that there was a lot that was broken in terms of how money moved across borders, especially as it relates to emerging markets and underserved markets like the Caribbean. And the wheels started turning in my head.
Mhm.
And I went through and refined the idea until I had a plan that looked like something that was ready to be executed on.
Oh, interesting. The Caribbean usually is seen as laggards in technology, generally. Like we're usually 10 years behind, and I know that Jamaica is far in advance, right? What's your view on the state of tech in the region? What are we getting right? What do we need to get right?
So one thing I think we're not short on is talent. I
Mhm.
think we have a lot of brilliant entrepreneurs. I think we have a lot of knowledgeable tech entrepreneurs that can stand alongside the best of them from anywhere in the world. What we do not have is the same opportunities.
Mhm.
I don't think we have the same opportunities as it relates to ease of doing business, as it relates to ease of accessing capital. And that holds back a lot of entrepreneurs, especially for the types of businesses that are capital intensive.
Mhm.
And sadly, I've seen a number of promising ventures just die along the wayside because it gets hard and people are human and they get tired of fighting. And I'm hoping to see more and more being done in the way of supporting entrepreneurs in a meaningful way. Especially for these tech startups, because there's a lot about tech startups that are a little bit different from traditional businesses in terms of what's required at the start, the initial capital outlay, the expectations about when in the timeline you turn a profit. And I think, and I hope to see efforts being made in terms of broadening people's understanding of what the differences are and how these entrepreneurs can be supported so that somebody in Jamaica who's brilliant and has a great idea doesn't have to migrate to the US or anywhere else to build out on their dream, or worse, quit because they've become frustrated.
Wow. You're solving real problems, Monique, with Sendana and QuickCart, and wish you all the best as you continue
Thank you
to
so
grow
much.
and improve. Thank you so much for being a guest on the Entrepreneurial.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. That wraps our very enlightening conversation with Monique Powell. I trust that it was really valuable for you, as it was for me, that you were inspired to do things differently, right? To make a difference in your sphere of influence. I, again, was truly inspired, and I thank you so much for tuning in. Stay tuned. There's more coming up right here on the Entrepreneurial You.
Coming up, Liberty Tech Talk.
It is now time for Liberty Tech Talk, brought to you by Liberty Business, rooted in the Caribbean, committed to you.
One hour of downtime can cost businesses thousands and sometimes millions of dollars in lost revenue. In disaster-prone regions such as the Caribbean, uninterrupted connectivity is essential, it's not a luxury. Business continuity is ensuring that your business is able to continue to run and you're able to continue serving your customers even in the event of a disaster, whether that disaster is a hurricane, or a cyber attack, or even just some malfunction within your network environment. Business continuity in connectivity is achieved through what we call geo-redundancy. What does that mean? Geo-redundancy is basically delivering two connections to your premises that are geographically separated. So for example, if I'm your office, we have a circuit coming from east and a circuit coming in from the west, and they are traversing different poles, and they are coming into your premises completely independently. They don't connect at all. Now, in the event of a failure, then you will automatically start taking service from the other circuit, which is coming in from the west. In addition, we also need to give attention to how quickly we can switch from taking services from the east to the west. Usually, if we have human intervention, it can be a little bit slow. So we can automatically do what we call failover. So we will configure those circuits that the minute that we detect that there is no data traversing on this side, we automatically switch to the other. And we can even provide alerts to your IT team to let them know that something has happened, and we can begin the investigation process and restore the service as quickly as possible. There is a third opportunity that we have to improve our continuity in the event of lost access to internet, and it's on your internal network. Your network is configured using several devices, switches, routers, and firewalls, for example, and it is possible that at any moment in time, one of those devices can fail. So what we can do in that scenario is we can actually deploy redundancy for each of those devices to ensure that each one of them has a fallback or a backup device. So if it fails, we automatically fail over to its replacement. Now, these are all important, and the different measures will be deployed depending on the type of business that you operate and the length of time that you can tolerate being without connectivity. So we'll help you to make those decisions. We'll provide you with that kind of counsel. Connectivity is essential to every business, and business continuity at the network layer is essential. Come and talk to us, and let's help to design that perfect business continuity plan for you.
It is time for Community Connection. It's that special segment where we shine the spotlight on exciting projects, inspiring initiatives, and mini features. And we go behind the scenes sometimes to highlight someone from the community, or it could be a sponsor story. So we celebrate the connections that drive positive change. Let's dive right in today. Today we're excited to spotlight Pick Ups JA, a dynamic Jamaican startup founded by 29-year-old livestock farmer Ricardo Campbell. Inspired by his grandfather and driven by a passion for farming, Ricardo has transformed Pick Ups JA from a small operation into an innovative force in the local food industry. After completing a pig management course in 2022, Ricardo saw the potential to scale his passion into a sustainable business, and his vision has only grown since then. There is more. He has been an outstanding entrepreneur under the REAP Entrepreneurship Project, and of course, that is a project operated by the YWAP initiative, founded by Lanicia Roden. And as part of that entrepreneurial community, that is where I met Ricardo. And I tasted the pig and the chicken that he had, and that is why I had to bring him here. So tell us a little bit about your Pickups JA. Tell the people what it is about and the inspiration.
All right, so Pickups JA really founded based on challenges as a pig farmer in like where to sell our end products, because we'd raise a pig for 9 months or even more, and then after slaughter, where to sell it, or we have to sell it for bottom price because we don't have the market. So that really now let me think and say, what are a few ways I could add value to the existing products to even make more money and even find newer potential for pork. So that gave me the idea where I would say back in 2023, I did like about 3 pig legs for the Christmas for ham, and it sold off. And then I took my time and then I continued increasing the volume of ham that I did for the Christmas until last year Christmas, I started bacon. And I realized bacon was the fastest going thing. So now I really focus on trying to increase the amount that I do, and then utilize the pig, not just for the smoked products, but I have marinated pork also. So I'm trying to incorporate convenience. So normally, when people want something, they want it easy, they don't want to do all the hard work. So for me, the farmer, it's already hard enough to raise the animal. And then now, for me now, I still put in more work so you will have the convenience.
So you're thinking about me as a consumer. Isn't
Yes.
that lovely? All right, so you have some samples. Let's see what you have.
Yes, so all right. So you know it's Pickups, but I do the chicken also.
Yes, for those who are not into pigs.
So this is my marinated chicken. So it's already flavored and vacuum sealed. So all you have to do is just add it to your pot and add your browning or your curry or whichever style that you like.
So this is a marinated chicken.
Didn't have it marinated pork today, but now this is the bacon. And then with the bacon, we have a lot of stuff that goes with the bacon. So we have the ham slice also. So we normally ham sell faster for the Christmas, but for now, in the less peak season, we work with the ham slices because it's good for breakfast. Then we have the smoked ribs. So we do it in racks and we do it in singles. So for now, are just singles, so it's much easier to prepare. And we have pork sausage also. For those who like the pork sausage. So also, hold on, this is the big one. We have smoked chicken for those who love their chicken. And one more. So this is now, I would say, the easiest one to prepare. So these are marinated chicken wings. So all you have to do is add to your air fryer. About 20 minutes and you're good.
Wow. Wow. Where can we find your products?
All right, for now, I'm mostly online based. So once you check me out online, it no matter if it's Instagram or TikTok, the link in the bio will take you to my online platform where you'll see all the products listed.
And you're on Instagram as PigupsJA.
Yes, I am.
And also TikTok.
Yes, I am.
Ricardo, I'm inspired by anybody who decides to start a business and into farming. I remember when I was growing up, I thought I was going to be in farming because I was fun facts. I am a farm queen, right? I was a farm queen for St. Mary and I was 3rd in the national, yay. And I always thought of going into farming. So much respect to you for feeding us, taking convenience to our table. Really appreciate it. And I really want for you to experience success. So wish you all the best on your onward journey. And I encourage you, just check out Ricardo. Check out his, check out his pork, his chicken. And I know that pretty soon he's going to be doing something for the vegans, right? Because you're probably wondering, so what about those of us who don't eat meat? Well, I'm sure it's coming, right?
Yes.
Putting you on the spot. Okay, thank you so much. It's really a pleasure again. So all the best on your onward journey.
Thank you.
That was Community Connection. begins with fresh ideas, bold action, and the courage to lead. Today's conversation with Monique Powell reminds us that with vision, resilience, and a commitment to excellence, Caribbean entrepreneurs can create brands that resonate locally and shine globally. If you're ready for more inspiration and practical wisdom, don't forget to tune in to the Entrepreneurial podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. It's Apple or Spotify, we're there. And let's keep building, dreaming, and winning together. For more resources, stories, and exclusive content, visit HenekaWatkis-Porter.com. We are extremely grateful to our sponsors, Liberty Business, JPS, Digital Video Concepts, Madison Chai, and HenekaWatkis-Porter.com. Of course, you all made this possible, and we are so grateful. And remember the words of Zig Ziglar: you were born to win, but to be a winner, you must plan to win, prepare to win, and expect to win. What good? Pigs Up J.A. 29-year-old livestock farmer, farmer, not former, farmer. I miss out that word. We don't miss out that word. That is not that vision, it's that with vision. Why do I keep missing out the with? And it's right there in front of me. Heneka, what's your problem?